Afternoon, everyone. This is Brent with Cameron Fabrications. I'm going to give you a little show and tell for this project that I'm working on for a customer. Quite interesting. I've never seen it done before, but hey, that's what he wants, and it's in my wheelhouse to build it. I can do it. So what we've got over here, if you can see, is this big old piece of sheet metal that is 8 foot wide by 10 foot length, 1/4 inch thick. So it is quite heavy. So I am out here at the beautiful church property at Coast Community Church in Wool Market, Mississippi. The reason why I'm out here is because, one, we've got a tractor, and also we've got the implement to set of long forks, if you will. So forklift attachment under there. And if you can see up underneath the front here, got some fork extensions that I built several years ago out of necessity. We need to pick stuff up, move it around and all that, and standard forks aren't long enough, so I needed something like that day, and they didn't have any 3x5 square tubing, like 3/16 wall. So I ended up making some out of angle iron, doubling it up, end to end, if you will, just to have something like that day. So it works. I wish they were a little bit lighter. This is the 1/4 inch wall material on the fork, so it's a little heavy, but it's strong. But this right here is pretty much the limit of what that tractor can pick up, just because we got so much weight, so far out this way that the back end gets a little light, even with the 6 foot long, or 6 foot wide, excuse me, bush hog deck on it. Oh boy, I'm looking rough. I need to clean up a little bit. Anyway, so I just finished. So back to the project. This right here is going to be a lid for a septic tank. So I don't know if the concrete lid that the customer had was damaged or if he didn't want to use it. I kind of got the impression that he wants something, quote, lightweight enough that he can pick up with his own tractor at his property, to take the lid off, put it back on, so on and so forth, and he doesn't have to hire a truck with a crane to come out there and pick it up and move it. So if that's what he wants, no problem, can absolutely accommodate. So this septic tank lid is going to be 7 foot by 7 foot in diameter, so it's a huge piece. And I recommended to him to do it in one piece of sheet metal versus doing 2 pieces of 4 foot by 8 foot, butted up together, and then trim the edges, which is doable. But with a lid, I want a tight of a seal as possible, and I didn't want to have to weld a seam up, grind it where it needed to be ground so it'd sit flush like on the top of the septic tank. It's just going to warp. You do that much welding on a piece of metal, it's going to move, it's going to curl up, and the last thing I wanted was the edges of the lid to not sit right. It's not flush. It kind of defeats the purpose, right? So I think, yeah, this piece of metal costs more, but in the end, he's saving labor, not having me, weld the 2 pieces, grind it, try to keep it straight, do some risk mitigation with angle iron to keep it straight and all that. I feel like it just would have been a headache, and then I didn't want to be in a situation of like, why didn't we just do it out of one piece of metal? So I had my steel supplier special order this. They had to make some phone calls, and I said, yeah, we can do it. It said, perfect. So here I am. So I just did some test cuts over here now before all the keyboard inspectors kind of come out here and go like, dang, it's not the best, believe me. I did 2 trial cuts on it. It's not the best, but what do you expect with running a hand torch, and when you're trying getting ready to cut that many linear feet with a hand torch, it's not ideal. So In the past, I had access to, a Victor tractor torch, bug, and man, I mean, even when we were running propane with that thing, it cut so nice. You just get it dialed in, set the speed, man, and just you're sitting there watching it and make sure the torch lines don't get caught and snagged on anything. Other than that, you're just watch that thing just kind of sputter. I mean, even cutting 1-inch plate, 2-inch plate, even with propane, you'd be surprised at how well that thing would cut, provided that you had it set correctly. So sure would be nice to have one of those tractor torches right now, but right now this is what I got to do: set up the angle iron, use that as a guide, and just watch my speed, make sure it's cutting right. I am cutting just a little, let's say a little heavy, just a little wide, so I can grind back to the soapstone line. So I have a nice straight edge to clean up with a grinder. So cutting just not even a 16th, maybe a 16th, call it a 16th wide. And the dimensions probably aren't critical, but you're like, hey, if you can make it straight, go ahead and make it straight, do it right. The other pieces, these pieces of angle iron, they're going to be out in the center. They're going to center up around, I guess, the septic tank opening pipe. I'm not sure, but this customer sent an engineering drawing, a shop drawing, that's got all the dimensions, locations of everything, exactly what he wanted. Makes my job extremely easy, and it cuts down on the kind of the back and forth. I'm building it to the blueprint. So provided that that's right, I'm going to give them exactly what they want. He even specified, the hole in the center with a 2-inch diameter pipe, how tall it needs to be, the location. He specified 2 lifting, like weld-on lifting rings, so that he can attach, a chain, straps, whatever. So they're going to be D-rings. That's going to be the mechanism to, pick it up and move it around with a tractor on his property. So my job is to build it to the drawing, put it on the flatbed trailer over there, deliver it to his property, and assist him in whatever way that I can to, get it off the trailer with him, him operating his own tractor and me kind of guiding him and setting it up on the septic tank. I did recommend, and he agreed to let me paint the top surface. This lid, even if left as is bare metal, it would last a long time outside, but it being flat, I don't know if water will puddle on it or not, but spend just a little bit extra time and money to at least paint the top side of it, sitting out in the elements, and it's going to last forever. You're really never going to have to worry about it again, not in this lifetime for sure. So anyway, let me get back on the clock and start making some cuts, and I'll keep y'all updated as the project continues. All right, cutting is underway. So little pro tip, something that I caught when I was laying out the cut lines right here is, boy, wouldn't it be a shame if I were to just barrel on through and cut right through my fork extensions? Yeah, that wouldn't be good. I'd be kicking myself and be all mad. So I just kind of drew these lines of about where they sat, and then I got to a stopping point over there, then picked it up using this little aluminum picnic table is another jack stand, sawhorse, because I don't have anything, so got to make do with what I have. So then I took some of this angle iron, put it on there, and made sure it was set back far enough right here so when we run the torch through, it doesn't touch this or the fork extension. So doing stuff like that, just take your time, don't get in too rush, and that way you're not kicking yourself from doing dumb stuff. So a little pro tip for the day. Hey everyone, it is the next day. We are continuing on with the septic tank lid project. I'm back out here at the church and you can see the tractor behind me and the big old piece of 1/4-inch plate steel. So I've got everything set up. You can see behind me to trim off this last 3 foot. So I've measured it twice, measured it a third time just to make sure there's no issues, that the final piece is going to be 7 foot by 7 foot. So nothing complicated. So got everything mocked up, ready to go. Got my soapstone on, my hand torch. Sure would be nice to have a tractor torch right about now. Make it for a clean cut, but got to make do with what I have for right now. So I've got the tractor over here, and it's probably not OSHA approved, but you know, I feel a little bit better having that under there and not trusting the hydraulics of the tractor. So it's supported. You know, I'm going to be standing over here by the sawhorses. So should anything fall, it's not coming down on me. It goes down to the ground, and I'm standing underneath behind sawhorses. So there you go. So let's get back on the clock and get to cutting. So here's the drawing that I'm working to, that the customer was nice enough to provide me. It definitely cuts down on the, you know, back and forth of where do you want this and how do you want that and all that, so on and so forth. So what we've got going on is some 2-inch by 2-inch angle iron, 1/4-inch wall thickness, that's going to be placed kind of around the edge. So assuming there's going to be a center pipe that it's going to fit on the outside edge. Yeah, probably the outside edge, and the pipe is going to touch the inside lip of this. So everything's laid out on a 6-inch grid, as you can see here. Out in the center, you got a 2-inch diameter pipe. He calls out 6 inches in height. And also in the email, he said he wants it to go from the 2-inch pipe threaded to PVC. So I guess he can kind of maybe do maybe like an up and over, like a upside down J-trap, maybe, so you know water can't get in. I'm not sure. So I got 2-inch diameter by 3-inch length pipe nipple. I'm going to cut off the threads on the inside, or the bottom lip, if you will. So it's solid pipe welded to the steel. Once I get the hole burned in at that location right there. I got then a fitting adapter to go from threaded pipe to a PVC slip fitting, and then a 2-foot length of Schedule 40 PVC pipe. So it calls for 6 inches. I might want to just hold off and just like cut that like on site, just in case. I mean, why cut it sooner than needed. So we can absolutely measure 6 inches from the surface of the plate, come up 6 inches and cut a line if that's where he wants it, or we could get it out on site, get it installed, and he may want to leave it a little longer. So we got 2 foot to play with, and we'll cut it exactly where he wants it, kind of the day of the installation. So the angle iron's going to go on the bottom, the pipe it's going to go up on top, and you can see here, like right there and right there, we've got 1 inch welded lifting rings. So I've got some swivel D-rings, calls out the exact location of placement of where he wants it. Can't get any simpler than this. So kind of thinking through like order of operations. What do I need to do first and second? I think I'm going to call the surface that we're looking at right now, that's right side up, we're going to call that the top. Reason being is let's do the lifting rings first, because I've got to flip this thing over, and I don't have an overhead crane to do it, and I need a way to pick the plate up, spin it around, and set it down. So I don't have a plate dog, so I'm going to have to utilize these lifting rings first. So let's get those laid out, the location, the measurements, and all that. Get it laid out, get it tacked up, check the measurements, and then weld those out. Once that's welded, then I can pick it up with the tractor, spin it around, flip it over, and start laying out the locations for the angle iron. And once that's done, I think I'll be ready for some paint. So let's get to it. Let's get back on the clock. not getting creative, I don't know what is. So you're thinking like, what in the heck are you doing? And I said, well, you need to have the angle iron on the bottom side of this right here. And I can't flip it all the way over because I don't have enough hook height, if you will. The forks only go up so far. So I can't set it all the way down, otherwise it'll crash, and I don't want that because it'll damage the part. So I've got to pretty much stand it right up, and I'm not going to just trust the hydraulics on the tractor, so I need something to prop it up against. So I came up with this way, propping it against the I-beams of the building, so you know it can't fall on me. I'll be working from this side over here, and so they can do with what I have. What would be really nice is if I had a crane on the truck, be able to boom that thing out, spin it around. It'd have a swivel hook on it so I can pick a part up, spin it around 180 degrees, and then set it back down. Ideally, that's what I would have, but at least I have this, otherwise I wouldn't be able to even do the job. So there we go. Cut that out in post. Hey, morning everyone. It's Brent with Cameron Fabrications. So we are here. This is the next day, working on the septic tank lid project. As you can see here, I've got locations laid out where this 2x2 angle iron is going to sit. So customer provided, like I said, recap from the other day, customer provided some detailed drawings, as you can see here. So it even specifies the exact location of it, how far he wants it from the edge of the steel, going in this direction as well as this. So this being on a 6-inch grid, count the number of squares times 6, so 30 inches from either side and 24 inches from the edge. So we've got the hole cut out, pipe welded up. I'll put another pass on this inside right here and kind of clean it up with a burr motor. Why not? You're here, just throw a quick pass on there, make it a little bit stronger. Less chance for it kind of rusting out. I did go with galvanized pipe on that. So we got it laid out. Let's get the welding machine started, get back on the clock and get to it.
after tacking it up in place, make sure everything looks good, double check the measurements before we weld it out. You saw just a minute ago why I had to get the hammer out. That's because I got ahead of myself and ended up tacking the bottom corner there and the bottom corner there. So what's going to happen is when you tack it like that, it's going to draw on all the other three. I tacked it on opposite corners, like that corner there and then that corner there, and that's to keep it from drawing one way or the other. But I tacked it on the bottom side over here. That's why I had to get the hammer and kind of straighten it up, beat it up in place, and kind of hold it down while I threw a tack, right there. So it's all straightened out. Let's get it welded up. Right here is the handiest little contraption. Needle gun, a whole lot better than using a chip and a hammer and knock off that slag and flux. Push it, runs off the air compressor of the weld machine. Saves so much time and your elbows and all that. Makes quick work and gets up in some tight spaces. I think what I'm going to do is add some additional welds on the outside of the single iron right here. As you can see, if it's already welded, you know, definitely on the heavy side. That's way too much weld for just its intended purpose as far as structural integrity goes. That piece of angle iron's on there, it's not going to go anywhere. But what I'm trying to do is combat the curve in the sheet metal that was introduced from cutting it from the mill. They cut it down a length for me, 8 foot by 10 foot, and I cut it down to 7 by 7. So it's got some warpage to it, and I'm trying to mitigate that by throwing more weld on there to help it curve in the direction that I want it to go. So I'm going to throw a couple more welds on there. So you can see the additional welds that I put on each piece, mainly on that side of it. This side, it's not going to bend all that much towards the center, but it's a whole lot more likely for this outside edge to kind of come in. That's why I did 5 pretty lengthy beads on each of these pieces of angle iron to help pull this as straight as possible. Now it's kind of sagging probably a little bit just based on how it's leaning against the pavilion here. So once I get it installed on top of the septic tank, it's going to level out even more, just kind of under its own weight. So and probably over time out there in the heat, I think it'll straighten up. So I think that's just the right amount of welds to put on it. As you can see here, clean it up with a buffing wheel, make it all nice. Does anyone ever want to see it? No, but you know, you got to take pride in your work. You want to do it right, as if it were your own. But anyway, so there you have it. So now it's time to get this thing flipped back over. We're done with all the welding and grinding. Now it's time to throw some paint on it, some industrial enamel paint. So we'll get started on that. Let's get back on the clock. Hey everyone, got all the painting wrapped up on the septic tank lid. It's sitting over there drying. I've got it out in the middle of the shop so it can sit out here overnight. We've got thunder going off in the background, and so I don't want to load it on the trailer just yet, just in case rain kind of blows in from the side of the pavilion out here. So it's sitting out there drying. Looks pretty good. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Built to the drawings the customer provided us, and kind of as I'm cleaning up out here, looking at this material, like, you know, what can I use this material for? And I've made fire pits out of like some 12-inch wide, 1/4-inch thick material. So I could make a fire pit, but I've got one at the house that I haven't sold yet. So if you need a fire pit down here in the Gulf Coast, I've got one painted and ready to go. Like I said, 1/4-inch thick steel. It's about 2.5 foot, about 2.5 foot in diameter. The sides are kind of like on an angle, so it sits directly on the ground. I've got another fire pit that's not finished yet, that's still in the shop. And I was thinking I could do maybe a workbench out of this. You know, I think that might be a nice size workbench for some people. You know, it might be a little bit too big. But anyway, just kicking around ideas. So while I'm out here at the church, I actually remembered there was a project that I wanted to do, you know, years and years ago, but it's like I never had the time and I never had the materials to do it. So I think I have an idea what I can use this for. So let me show you in the next clip. Hey everyone, it's Brent with Cameron Fabrications. We are on the final day of working on the septic tank lid project for one of my customers. Getting ready to kind of reposition the steel off to the side to change the direction of it, if you will. I don't know how big of a tractor that the customer has at his residence. Hopefully it's at least as big as this one, if not bigger. And the reason why I say that one is this one was at its limits to be able to pick up this piece of steel as big and heavy as it is, plus the weight of the fork extensions. So I'm going to pick it up and change the direction of kind of how this is going to sit on the trailer. I want the D-rings to one of the sides of the trailer. So we get to the customer site, we strap up to the D-rings, and we're able to pick it up. I'm going to go ahead and bring my fork extensions and the forks on the front of this tractor, just in case he doesn't have one of these pallet forks implements for his rig. I hate to get all the way out there, and it's at least a 45 minute drive one way, and us not have the equipment to get this piece of steel, you know, off the trailer and onto his septic tank lid. So I'm going to bring everything just in case. I'd rather have it than not need it, than need it, not have it. So let's get to moving that around next.